Across Central Oregon on this Thursday, we've got a lot more cloud cover. Some sprinkles are showing up on radar, just not a lot of that actually reaching the ground. And this is just the beginning of a shift in our weather pattern. That's right, an unsettled weather pattern is expected all the way through this weekend. And here's a spoiler for you. It's going to get a lot cooler, and some showers are expected with periods of clearing. So let's start off with what we're seeing right here and right now. Hey everyone, I'm the Chief Meteorologist Darrell Winninger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center, and across the high desert we have a whole lot of cloud cover. There are very few spots where there's much clearing at all, and in a couple of these cameras we have been able to see some showers off in the distance, but a lot of it is just virga. It's rain that is evaporating before it reaches the surface. So bear with me, we're going to look at radar here in just a little bit, but let's start off with some satellite imagery. This right here is just a look at infrared satellite imagery, and the infrared imagery has an enhancement on it, so it does show where some of those taller clouds are, but really there's a low pressure system that's coming out of the Gulf of Alaska and into the Pacific Northwest. This low is going to be the trough that drives our weather pattern through the next several days, and it is going to bring a big cool down with some showers on the way. Now, this dramatic cooling brings highs from where we were sitting yesterday, 80s with a few 90s, all the way into the 50s with some 60s by Saturday. That's going to be the coolest day out of the next 7. And for today, there is a red flag warning that's in effect for parts of Jefferson County, Oregon, including parts of the Warm Springs Reservation. Now, that warning goes further north, I should say, through Wasco County and all the way over to Pendleton. And we'll look at that and everything else you need to know coming up through the next several minutes. Yeah, we are going to take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. Now, when it comes to cameras, we've already looked at several of them that show the sky conditions. Now let's look at the roads. We do not see much at all in the way of rain that's been falling and getting our roads wet. In fact, we've had some sprinkles. That's about it, and that's because of the virga that's falling, that rain that's evaporating before it reaches the surface. Now, let's quickly talk about this red flag warning. Notice that it's only in effect for parts of Central Oregon. The one over central and southeastern Oregon, that's another one that goes through Saturday with the potential of some thunderstorm activity. But the one that is in place until 8 p.m. Thursdays for the Warm Springs Reservation. And then once you get up through Wasco County and continuing to work your way further off to the east and the northeast, these ones are all set to expire at similar times, and that's because they're for similar conditions. And so because of winds that are just going to be breezy, even gusty for many of us through the next several hours, this stays in place because it's already very dry. And we have those relative humidity values coming up in just a little bit as well. And so when it comes to satellite and radar, what we have been seeing is a little bit of rain showing up. Now, there is a data outage with NOAA, and they lost a little bit of their goes west, so we're not seeing that satellite imagery move, but what we are seeing is the rain. And the rain has been very light over our Tri-County area. And what's happened is the mountains have already absorbed most of that precipitation, and we do have some light showers that are making it through, and at best we've been catching some sprinkles across parts of Central Oregon, all the way as far south as through Crescent down to Chiloquin, and it looks like just outside of Christmas Valley, Oregon, where we're seeing a few more of those sprinkles, but not all of that is reaching the ground. However, on the other side of the Cascades, that is reaching the ground, and this is what we really start to see the impacts from later on this evening and going into tonight. And so when we go ahead and look forward, this is just at a glance with our forecast models. What we're seeing is this cloud cover stays with us through the next couple of days. Periods of clearing are expected, and what you can expect is some showers. There is a low chance for a few thunderstorms across Central Oregon during the next couple of days, and this one graphic helps illustrate that. This is the thunderstorm risk for Friday. Now, nothing severe is expected. You actually have to work your way further off into the Dakotas and right on the Montana and Wyoming state lines in order to see that low risk of severe weather. What we have for Central Oregon is just a chance of some thunderstorms, mostly in the highest elevations through the Cascades going down the west slopes of the mountain. So through most of Central Oregon, not only are we just looking at some sprinkles, but there's not much in the way of thunderstorm risk either. Now, we've already looked at that enhanced infrared satellite imagery. Now let's turn our attention to water vapor. This is one of the satellite imageries that are actually coming through, and we can actually see where that cold front is digging into the coastline, and there's a wave of moisture in advance of that. But notice that we do not have that super dry air mass, that onslaught of dry air that was present over central Oregon just a couple of days ago. What we do have instead is a lot more cloud cover. Winds are breezy for many of us, and we have some of these sprinkles that are falling across parts of the high desert. So as we go forward through the next couple of days, we keep the cloud cover tonight, and some showers are expected. Freeze frame. 7 a.m. Friday, periods of clearing, but we're actually going to go back. We're going to take a closer look at that because it moved through really quickly, so I'm going to go pretty slow. I'm actually dragging that scrubber tool back and forth across the editing program. And it shows that by 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, some light showers are possible, and most of this is going to be what's on the other side of the Cascades right now. It's just not much in the way of thunderstorm activity. Winds are going to be tapering off, and by tomorrow morning, pockets of clearing. Then through the day Friday, we have a chance of some light showers. But I want you to look a little closer at those cells that are popping up through the eastern half of central Oregon, and really the eastern half of our state after 9 o'clock. So going into the midday hours, late morning and midday hours. And now a couple of those have a little bit of red, a little bit of orange on them. And that's where it's going to be we have the potential for a couple of light thunderstorms to develop. Now, any thunderstorm development tomorrow, we're going to be tracking real closely because this is just a very dry system. Just like the last one, the mountains are absorbing a lot of that moisture as it rolls through. And then going forward through Saturday, a little bit more shower activity, but this isn't going to be a complete washout. So if you have plans this weekend, just know the biggest shift in our weather pattern is going to be this huge cool down. Meanwhile, when it comes to relative humidity, we have 20s, 30s, and teens on the map. This is not critically dry, but it is very dry. And as we go through the next couple of hours, we're still getting some of that virga because as rain is falling, it's just evaporating in the atmosphere before it reaches the ground. And it's because of the very dry air mass that's happening. Now, in the last 24 hours, temperatures topped out in the 80s with a few 90s. A lot of that is holdovers from yesterday. Today was a big difference already. We've had a huge drop in temperatures, and it's only going to get even cooler. So right here, right now, we're sitting in the 70s with some 60s on the map. Temperature change graphic shows that for most of the temperatures across central Oregon, we're running between 9 and 15 degrees cooler than we were 24 hours ago. That's what took us from the 70s with a few 80s into the 70s and some 60s. And by tomorrow, we're talking 60s across most of central Oregon. And some 70s are going to be possible. Winds are going to be breezy at times. But for the most part, you're going from 70s today to 60s tomorrow. And the UV intensity forecast is dropping down significantly as well, mostly because of all this cloud cover that we have. In the next couple of days, some showers are even expected. Showers don't really play a role in UV intensity, neither does temperatures. What really matters is the solar insolation, the intensity of the sun rays that are coming down to the surface. And because of all this cloud cover, even some showers, it's just not going to be that intense, even getting low by Saturday. By Sunday, it starts to rebound. By Monday, we're back up to very high. And so through this weekend, the calendar says summer, but summer's really stomping on the brakes because of this trough that's digging in from the Gulf of Alaska. And what's going to happen is through the day tomorrow, it already starts to break up. This is a forecast model that utilizes what we refer to as geopotential heights, and it helps us understand where the high pressure is, where the low pressure is, where the jet stream is, and a few other things. And I drew some lines on there. You can see some of those fronts. You can see that stalled out cold front over central Oregon Friday. That's what's providing enough uplift for showers, maybe a few light thunderstorms. But notice the separation of that weak cold front from the low that's still coming down right over Vancouver Island, Canada, and that's going to dig into the Pacific Northwest. 60s and 70s tomorrow, 50s and 60s Saturday, and that'll be the coolest day out of the next 7. Still looking at some showers. By Sunday, still partly cloudy, but late clearing, and this is when we start to feel that rebound, but temperatures are still going to be well below average, topping out in the 60s. So between now and Sunday at 11 p.m., many of us are going to get wet. Most of the rain falls on the other side of the Cascades, and only a little bit of mountain snow is expected. Meanwhile, roller coaster temperatures. Yes, Saturday's the coolest day out of the next 7. Sunday, we keep some of that cloud cover. Once we get to more sunshine Monday and Tuesday, warming takes shape. Still going to be below average, but picking us back up into the 70s. So our forecast model actually shows that that with this system stalling out over the region, some off and on showers are expected. Low chance of thunderstorm activity Friday, and then by Saturday, periods of clearing. Some showers still expected, but we really don't start to see that clearing till late Sunday, and even more so Monday during the afternoon and evening hours. The GFS is pretty much confirming that. It's just lying back a little bit on the amount of rain we're going to get. It just looks like some sprinkles, some light showers, some clearing Sunday. By Monday, late clearing. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, mixture of sunshine and cloud cover. This is when the warming trend begins. So ultimately, all the forecast models are lining up with this one. It's not going to be a significant system, but it is going to be enough to bring us some showers Friday and Saturday. We are going to get breezy across the high desert, even gusty at times, and the mountains are going to get wet. Maybe even a little bit of mountain snow. But look at this. Right now, it is gusty for some of us. Some of those gusts as high as 25 miles per hour coming out of the west and northwest. Through the next couple of hours, we start to taper off. Now, actual wind speeds are between 10 and 20 miles per hour. So it is breezy. And the tapering winds really take shape after the 7 o'clock hour. We're back down into a light and then a gentle breeze. But Friday, it's just going to be breezy. Gusty at times. By Saturday, it's going to be breezy. Gusty at times. Each day, winds starting out of the southwest or west and swinging around to the northwest or west-northwest. And so that typical flow is expected. But for tonight, we're looking at 40s with a few 50s, maybe a couple of 30s, but I think there'll be fewer and further between. By Friday, 60s with some 70s, then 50s with some 60s, and then by Sunday, the rebound begins. But we don't even get close to average again for this time of the year until Thursday and Friday of next week. That's the latest in weather. Here's a quick look at your weather headlines for this Thursday, June 25th. Summer's hitting the brakes. It's going to be much cooler and breezy, especially during each afternoon, and some showers are expected Friday and Saturday. A few sprinkles already rolling through the high desert, but this is just the beginning of what is going to be a active weather pattern all the way through this weekend. The bulk of the showers start up later tonight, and right now that's over the I-5 corridor. That's it. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. Well, the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. See you then.